You know, we spend our entire life chasing happiness, and then one day we suddenly ask, why am I still not happy? It's almost funny, like searching for your glasses while they're already sitting on your face. Stay with me till the very end, because the last few lessons may quietly change the way you see your entire life. Today, many of us look successful on the outside, but restless on the inside. We have notifications, but no peace. We have choices, but no clarity. We have comfort, but still feel uncomfortable within ourselves. And this confusion is not because you are failing in life. It's because no one taught us the inner science of happiness. We were taught how to earn, how to compete, how to impress, but rarely how to be content, grounded, and fulfilled. So today, let's talk heart to heart, not about complicated philosophies, but about simple spiritual truths that quietly unlock real happiness. And this journey has 7 steps. Each one will take you a little deeper, from noise to stillness, from confusion to clarity, from survival to meaning. Most of us believe happiness is something we must achieve. We speak about it as if it is a destination on Google Maps. Once I reach there, I'll finally relax. We postpone happiness to milestones, a job offer, a relationship, a house, a certain bank balance, a certain body weight, a certain version of ourselves. And unknowingly, we train our mind to believe that now is never enough. But here is a simple spiritual truth. Happiness is not something you manufacture. It is something you remember. Think about a child. A child laughs loudly at the smallest things, a moving fan, a funny sound, a silly face. The child is not successful, not productive, not impressive. Yet the child is joyful. Why? Because happiness is the default setting of the soul. It is our natural state before life conditions us to believe otherwise. As we grow older, something strange happens. We don't lose happiness, we bury it. We bury it under expectations, comparisons, disappointments, and pressure. We start believing that happiness must be earned, deserved, proven. Slowly, we disconnect from the inner source and start searching outside. Spiritual life gently asks us a powerful question. When did you decide that joy must depend on circumstances? Many people say, I'll be happy when life becomes stable. But life doesn't sign a stability contract. It keeps changing. If happiness waits for life to cooperate, happiness will always wait. Spiritual wisdom flips the script and says, let happiness be stable, even when life is not. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is okay. It means understanding that joy is deeper than mood. Mood changes with situations. Joy comes from awareness. Imagine a lake. On the surface, waves come and go, wind, rain, storms, but deep inside, the water remains still. Spiritual happiness comes from learning how to live from that depth rather than the surface. We often say, this person made me unhappy, or that situation ruined my peace. But what if peace was never theirs to give or take? What if happiness was always an inside job, but we outsourced it without realizing the cost? The problem is not desire. Desire gives direction. The problem is attachment. The belief that without this I cannot be okay. The moment happiness becomes conditional, it becomes fragile. Spirituality doesn't say stop wanting. It says stop waiting to be happy. Walk with happiness, not toward it. There's a beautiful paradox here. The more desperately we chase happiness, the faster it runs. But the moment we slow down, breathe, and become present, happiness quietly catches up. This is why some of the most peaceful people are not those who have everything, but those who have learned to appreciate what they have. Appreciation is not a result of happiness, it is the doorway to it. Another reason we feel unhappy is because we live too much in memory and imagination. We replay old hurts and rehearse future fears. Our body is here, but our mind is everywhere else. Spiritual awareness brings the mind back home. When you are fully present, eating, walking, listening, breathing, happiness naturally arises. Not because life is perfect, but because you are awake. Think about it. How many beautiful moments passed by unnoticed because your mind was busy elsewhere? How many smiles, sunsets, conversations, and small joys were missed? Happiness doesn't shout, it whispers, and only a quiet mind can hear it. This is why spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, silence, reflection are not escapes, they are reminders. They remind us who we were before the world told us who we should be. You don't need a new life to be happy, you need a new lens. When you stop asking what is missing and start asking what is present, something shifts inside. Contentment begins to replace restlessness. Gratitude begins to soften ambition. Peace begins to coexist with effort. And here is the most liberating realization: you don't have to fix everything to be happy. You simply have to stop fighting the present moment. Happiness is not waiting at the end of your struggles, it is waiting in your awareness right now. And once you remember this, truly remember it, you take the first, most important step on the spiritual journey. Because from this point onward, life is no longer about chasing joy, it becomes about protecting it. If you feel this truth settling quietly in your heart, stay with me, because next we will explore the real reason happiness slips away so easily, the untamed mind. Once you begin to understand that happiness is your natural state, a quiet question arises. If happiness is already within me, why does it disappear so easily? Why do I feel peaceful one moment and restless the next? Why does a small comment, a delay, a comparison, or a thought have the power to steal my joy? The answer is simple yet uncomfortable to accept. The mind. The mind is one of the most powerful tools ever given to us. It can imagine, create, plan, solve, dream. Every invention, every breakthrough, every act of service began in the mind. But the same mind, when left untrained, becomes the greatest source of suffering. That is why spiritual wisdom says something very beautiful. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Most of us are not living life. We are reacting to thoughts. A thought arises, and before we know it, it becomes a story. The story becomes an emotion. The emotion becomes a mood, and the mood silently dictates how we speak, behave, and decide. One thought can ruin an entire day, not because the thought was true, but because we believed it without question. The mind has a strange habit. It loves to travel, either to the past or the future. It revisits old wounds like reopening files that should have been closed long ago. Or it jumps into imaginary futures, creating fear about things that may never happen. Very rarely does the mind stay where life actually is, here and now. This is why two people can be in the same situation, yet experience completely different levels of peace. The difference is not the situation, it is the inner conversation. One person says, "This is happening to me," another says, "This is happening for me." Same event, different mind, different life. Spiritual life does not mean destroying the mind or silencing it completely. That is neither possible nor practical. Spiritual life means educating the mind, training it, befriending it, leading it instead of being dragged by it. Imagine owning a powerful car with no steering wheel. Speed without direction becomes danger. In the same way, intelligence without awareness becomes anxiety. Most of our stress is not caused by reality, it is caused by resistance to reality. We argue with what already is. We replay conversations, edit past scenes, and fight outcomes that have already happened. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted. The mind says, "Why did this happen?" Wisdom asks, "Now that it has happened, how will I grow?" Spiritual practices exist for one main reason: to create a gap between you and your thoughts. The moment you realize, "I am not my mind," I am the observer of my mind. Freedom begins. You don't have to attend every argument your mind invites you to. You don't have to believe every thought that passes through you. Some thoughts are just noise. Some are real conditioning. Some are fear disguised as logic. Awareness gives you the power to pause, and in that pause, choice is born. Most people say, I can't control my mind. But notice this, you can control your phone usage, your schedule, your diet, at least to some extent. The mind is no different. What you feed it, it grows. What you starve, it weakens. Constant negativity, comparison, gossip, and overconsumption create mental pollution. Silence, prayer, gratitude, meaningful conversations, and service act as mental detox. The mind needs discipline, not punishment. A disciplined mind does not mean a serious or dull life. In fact, it creates space for joy. When mental clutter reduces, clarity increases. When overthinking reduces, peace rises naturally. One of the biggest misunderstandings is believing that a calm mind comes from a calm life. Spirituality teaches the opposite. A calm mind creates a calm life. Even when circumstances are challenging, storms are inevitable. Inner chaos is optional. This is why some people break under pressure, while others become deeper, wiser, and kinder. Pressure reveals the quality of inner training. The mind will always try to control outcomes. Spiritual wisdom gently reminds us, focus on effort, surrender the results. When the mind learns this balance, anxiety loosens its grip. You don't need to stop thinking. You need to stop over-identifying. You are the sky. Thoughts are passing clouds. Let them come. Let them go. Don't build a house on every cloud. When you start observing the mind, instead of obeying it, happiness becomes more stable, less dramatic, less dependent on praise, success, or validation. And as the mind slowly settles, something unexpected happens. You begin to look outward. You notice others more. You listen better. You compare less, which brings us naturally to the next truth. One of the biggest reasons inner peace leaks away without us realizing it. Comparison. And if you think mastering the mind is powerful, wait until you see what happens when comparison leaves your life. Once the mind starts becoming a little quieter, we begin to notice something very subtle. A habit so normal that we rarely question it, yet so powerful that it silently robs us of peace every single day. That habit is a comparison. Comparison doesn't announce itself loudly. It enters quietly. You scroll for a few minutes, you meet someone, you attend a function, you hear a story, and suddenly a small voice inside says, they are ahead of me, or I should be doing better by now, or why doesn't my life look like that? And just like that, joy leaks out. Comparison is dangerous not because it shows us reality, but because it shows us distorted reality. We compare our behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. We compare our struggles with their success, our doubts with their confidence, our present with their peak moment. Spiritual wisdom reminds us of a simple truth we often forget. No two journeys are meant to look the same. A rose doesn't wake up in the morning feeling insecure because it's not a lotus. A mango tree doesn't feel like a failure because it doesn't grow apples. In nature, everything grows at its own pace, in its own season, fulfilling its own purpose. Only human beings try to live someone else's life. The moment comparison enters, gratitude quietly exits. And without gratitude, happiness cannot survive. Comparison turns blessings into burdens. What once felt like enough suddenly feels insufficient, not because it actually is, but because someone else has more. Spiritual life teaches us that comparison is born from forgetting our uniqueness. You were not created to compete with everyone. You were created to contribute something only you can. When you try to copy someone else's path, you abandon your own. Many people feel anxious not because they are failing, but because they are measuring success using someone else's ruler. Ask yourself honestly, who decided the timeline you're judging yourself against? who said you must achieve everything by a certain age, who defined the checklist you feel pressure to complete. Most of these expectations are borrowed from society, social media, relatives, or random opinions. And borrowed expectations always come with borrowed stress. Comparison also damages relationships. Instead of celebrating others, we silently resent them. Instead of learning from them, we feel threatened. And the tragedy is, someone else's success never takes away from your potential, unless you let comparison convince you otherwise. Spiritual maturity is when you can clap for others without checking what's missing in your own hands. This doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. Spirituality never promotes stagnation, it promotes healthy inspiration instead of toxic comparison. Inspiration says, if they can grow, so can I. Comparison says, because they are ahead, I am behind. One expands you, the other shrinks you. There is also another layer to comparison. Comparing your present self with your past self or imagined future self. You replay mistakes and say, I should have known better. Or you imagine an ideal version of yourself and feel disappointed for not being there yet. But growth is not linear. Life is not a straight line upward. There are pauses, detours, lessons, and delays, all part of refinement. Spiritual wisdom invites patience. Seeds don't grow faster when you shout at them. They grow when you water them consistently and trust the process. When you stop comparing, something beautiful happens. You start noticing progress instead of lack. You begin to see how far you've come instead of how far you think you should be. Peace returns, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting reality. Comparison makes life a race with no finish line. Awareness turns life into a journey with meaning. And here's a powerful inner shift. When you stop comparing, you stop rushing. When you stop rushing, you start living. You listen more deeply, you work more sincerely, you rest without guilt, you celebrate small wins, you learn without feeling inferior. Spiritual happiness grows in a heart that knows, I am enough for this moment, and I am growing toward the next. This understanding prepares you for the next inner step, a step where happiness stops depending on people and situations altogether, because now we move from awareness to ownership. Up next, we explore a truth that transforms victims into leaders, complainers into creators, and restless minds into grounded souls. The power of responsibility. Let's go further. This is where the inner shift truly begins. When comparison slowly loosens its grip, something unexpected happens. We stop looking outward for excuses, and life gently asks us to look inward. This is the moment many people resist, because what comes next requires courage, responsibility. Responsibility is often misunderstood. People think responsibility is pressure, burden, or blame. But spiritual wisdom sees responsibility as power. The moment you accept responsibility, you reclaim control over your inner world. Most suffering sounds like this: they made me feel this way. Life is unfair to me. If only this hadn't happened. These statements feel justified, and sometimes they are. Pain is real, injustice exists. But spiritual growth begins when we ask a different question. Not who caused this, but who will choose the response. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control what happens within you. The day you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a participant in growth, life changes texture. You feel lighter, stronger, more grounded. Responsibility does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means allowing emotions without letting them rule you. It means saying, yes, this hurt me, and I will still choose wisdom over bitterness. There is a subtle freedom in this. When you blame others, you give them power over your peace. When you take responsibility, you take your peace back. Spiritual people are not those who never face difficulty. They are those who ask, "What is this moment asking me to become?" Every situation carries a lesson, even if it arrives wrapped in discomfort. Responsibility is the willingness to extract wisdom instead of carrying resentment. Think about this: two people go through the same hardship. One becomes angry, closed, and cynical. The other becomes compassionate, deep, and resilient. Same event, different responsibilities. Life refines us in two ways: through awareness or through suffering. Responsibility allows awareness to lead, so suffering doesn't have to shout. Many people wait for life to change before they change. Spiritual maturity is changing first and letting life catch up. Responsibility also means owning your habits, choices, and reactions. Not beating yourself up, but being honest. Growth doesn't begin with guilt. It begins with clarity. If you are unhappy, ask gently, "What am I repeatedly doing or thinking that is draining my peace?" Not to judge yourself, but to empower yourself. Responsibility shifts focus from "Why is this happening?" to "What can I do now?" And that question is powerful because it moves energy from helplessness to action. This is where discipline naturally enters the picture. Once you accept responsibility, you realize that freedom without discipline becomes chaos. You begin to see that structure is not restriction, it is support. Which brings us to the next inner truth, one that many people resist at first, but later thank deeply: discipline. If you think discipline will take away your joy, stay with me. Because spiritual discipline does the opposite. It protects happiness. Let's move into this gently, because this truth is often misunderstood. When people hear the word discipline, something inside tightens. We imagine restriction, force, control, punishment. We imagine someone taking joy away, not realizing that the absence of discipline is what quietly steals our peace every day. Spiritual discipline is not about being R&D on yourself. It is about being kind to your future self. Think about it honestly. Many of our regrets are not because we didn't know better, but because we didn't do better consistently. We knew what would help us grow, but we postponed it. We knew what was harming us, but we excused it. Discipline is simply the decision to align daily actions with long-term peace. A river without banks doesn't become free. It becomes destructive. In the same way, a life without discipline doesn't become joyful. It becomes scattered. Spiritual discipline is not rigid, it is rhythmic. It creates a flow where the mind feels safe, the body feels balanced, and the soul feels heard. Waking up early, eating consciously, guarding what you consume mentally and emotionally, creating time for silence. These are not moral rules. They are acts of self-respect. People often say, "I don't have discipline." But discipline is not a personality trait, it is a practice. You don't wake up disciplined. You become disciplined by choosing what matters again and again. There is also a misunderstanding that discipline kills spontaneity. In reality, discipline creates space for it. When your life is not chaotic, you can actually enjoy moments fully. When your mind is not constantly tired, joy feels lighter. Spiritual life teaches us that not everything you desire deserves your time, and not every thought deserves your attention. Discipline helps you choose consciously instead of reacting impulsively. Most addictions are not about pleasure, they are about escape. Discipline gently brings us back to presence. It doesn't judge the craving, it understands it and redirects it. And here's something very important. Discipline without purpose becomes oppression. But discipline rooted in values becomes liberation. When you know why you are disciplined. Peace, clarity, growth, service. Discipline stops feeling heavy. Think of a musician practicing daily. From outside it looks repetitive. From inside it feels meaningful because it leads to mastery. The discipline is not the burden. The lack of progress is. Spiritual discipline also protects energy. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what nourishes you. When you sleep on time, eat mindfully, speak thoughtfully, and limit unnecessary negativity, you create inner stability. This stability becomes a foundation for happiness. Without discipline, even good intentions fade. With discipline, even small efforts compound into transformation. And there's a quiet joy that comes from self-trust, from knowing that when you commit to say something, you will show up. That trust builds confidence, and confidence brings calm. Discipline also humbles the ego. It teaches patience. Growth doesn't rush. Depth doesn't shout. Spiritual strength is built silently. In small daily choices no one applauds. As discipline becomes natural, something beautiful unfolds. You start noticing how much you already have. You stop chasing constantly and start appreciating deeply, which leads us to the next truth. The softest one, yet one of the most powerful, gratitude. If discipline is the structure of happiness, gratitude is its heartbeat. Let's slow down here, because this truth works best when it's felt, not rushed. Gratitude is often spoken about, but rarely lived. We say thank you out of habit, yet deep appreciation, the kind that changes how you see life, is something else entirely. Spiritual gratitude is not a polite response, it is a powerful state of awareness. Most people think gratitude is for when life is good. Spiritual wisdom teaches the opposite. Life becomes good when gratitude becomes natural. We don't suffer because we lack things. We suffer because we overlook what is already present. The human mind has a strange tendency. It normalizes blessings and magnifies problems. What once felt like a miracle slowly becomes an expectation. You prayed for what you now complain about. Gratitude gently reverses this blindness. It doesn't deny pain or ambition, but it reframes perspective. It says, yes, there is more to grow, and there is also much to honor. Think about how often you breathe without noticing. The heart beats. The body functions. Someone somewhere loves you or has loved you. You are reading these words right now. These are not small things. They are foundational miracles. But the mind is trained to chase more. And in that chase, it forgets enough. Gratitude brings you back to enough. Spiritual gratitude is not passive. It doesn't make you complacent. It makes you peaceful while you progress. It allows ambition to coexist with contentment. When you are grateful, you stop asking life, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That question alone changes suffering into learning. Gratitude also dissolves entitlement. Entitlement says, I deserve better. Gratitude says, I appreciate what is. And interestingly, life responds more generously to appreciation than to entitlement. A grateful heart becomes softer. It listens better. It reacts less harshly. It forgives more easily. Gratitude doesn't change circumstances immediately, but it changes the person experiencing them, and that changes everything. Many people wait for success to feel grateful. Spiritual people feel grateful first, and success flows with less resistance, because gratitude aligns you with abundance rather than lack. There is also a deep connection between gratitude and humility. When you realize how much of life is grace, not just effort, arrogance loosens its grip. You see how many people, seen and unseen, contributed to your journey. This awareness naturally awakens compassion. You stop seeing life as a competition and start seeing it as a shared experience. Gratitude is also healing. Studies show it improves mental health, relationships, and resilience. But spirituality understood this long before science caught up. When you end your day by noticing what went right instead of replaying what went wrong, your sleep deepens. When you begin your day with appreciation instead of anxiety, your energy stabilizes. Gratitude anchors you in the present moment, the only place where peace actually exists. And here's a quiet secret. Gratitude makes happiness sustainable. Without it, even success feels empty. With it, even simplicity feels rich. As gratitude becomes a habit, something deeper awakens. You start asking not just, "What do I have?" but "Why am I here?" Appreciation naturally leads to contribution. Which brings us to the final, most important truth, the one that gives happiness direction and depth, purpose. If you miss this last part, you miss the heart of the transformation. Let me leave you with this, not as a conclusion, but as a quiet invitation. Happiness was never meant to be a personal project alone. The moment happiness turns inward without purpose, it eventually feels empty. But when happiness connects to something higher, to service, to truth, to God, it becomes steady, deep, and unshakable. Purpose is what turns a good life into a meaningful one. When your life is only about you, your success, your comfort, your validation, joy rises and falls like the stock market. But when your life is anchored in something greater than ego, happiness stops trembling. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that we are not accidental beings living random days. We are conscious souls placed here with intention. Every talent you have, every experience you've lived, every challenge you've survived, none of it is wasted. It is preparation. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like showing up with integrity. Sometimes it looks like being kind when no one is watching. Sometimes it looks like choosing the right path even when the easier one is available. When you align your thoughts with faith, your actions with values, and your life with service, peace becomes natural. You no longer need constant reassurance from the world because your heart is rooted in trust. Faith doesn't remove fear instantly. It teaches you how to walk despite it. It reminds you that you are guided, supported, and never alone, even in uncertainty. The more you put God at the center, the less pressure you feel to control everything. You do your best and you leave the rest. That surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. And here is the timeless truth to carry with you. Life's quality is not decided by how much you achieve, but by how consciously you live, how sincerely you serve, and how deeply you trust. So don't wait for life to become perfect to begin living with purpose. Begin now with awareness, discipline, gratitude, and faith.